Hey guys, hope you're well. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing a beautiful success story with you. So this success story is one of my one-on-one clients who manifested a relationship with her specific person. The key highlight of this success story is that she didn't do it in a day. And in this success story, I will also be sharing what and how she worked on the issues that came up after this relationship started. So, if you have been following me for a while, you already know that I'm someone who emphasizes on self concept a lot. And a big reason why I emphasize on self concept this much is because I know, just like you do, and just like all success stories of all my clients, is that getting a relationship is one thing. Yes, it is a difficult task sometimes, and getting your manifestation in itself is a difficult task sometimes too. But after getting the manifestation, maintaining that is the key. Maintaining that relationship, having it in your life for a prolonged period of time, having this be something that you are able to navigate through, regulating your emotions, not going into the same patterns again, that is the true win. And that is what I will be sharing in this story today. The reason I posted this success story is because 2 3 days back I got an invitation from one of my clients whose success story I posted 2 3 months back, who invited me to her marriage. She eventually ended up getting married to her specific person, and on the same day, this client posted and sent me a similar success story. So I will share the success story with you. Hang on till the end. You will learn a lot. And if you are someone who's manifesting a specific person, then this success story will absolutely blow your mind. Let's get into understanding what her situation was, what her issues were, and what were the things that we worked on, and how we navigated and eventually ended up manifesting a full fledged relationship with this guy. So this girl came to me. She had several issues. When she came to me, she had gotten out of a very toxic relationship. But the key was she hadn't gotten out of it right now. She had gotten out of it a while back. But she wasn't able to fully get out of it mentally. This relationship haunted her because in this relationship, she had been codependent. She had been unhealthy. She herself was someone that she wouldn't want to be in a relationship with. I will explain this step by step. So, how two of her past relationships were is that these relationships involved 2 3 similar patterns. The number one pattern that she had was that because these relationships had men who were not fully available, she was someone who was constantly chasing them. So, one thing that was in both of her past relationships was that every time they used to have a fight, there used to be a threat of a breakup, usually from the guy. Number one. Number two thing was there was that she had no boundaries. So, every time this guy or like these people or this also got into her friendships is that when these people came into her life, she did not have any boundaries at all. She would just do anything that these people would tell her to do. She would never say no when she needed to say no. She would never walk away. She would never respect herself. None of these things were there. Why? Because in her mind, she thought she was doing it out of love. In her mind, the reason that she was doing these things is because she thought that if I do these things, these people will love me and that these things are a sign of love. But under the pretense of these things being a sign of love, they became a sign of disrespect, which eventually didn't turn out well for her. The third thing that used to happen in these relationships is that these men used to constantly involve third parties in here. They used to either come in the form of best friends or exes, or in some way, shape, or form, they were always involved with some other individual in her life, right? And even though she had gotten out of these relationships, she was still mentally stuck there. Why did that happen? Because even though she wanted a relationship moving forward and she had a particular person with whom she was talking to and she had a particular dynamic with, which I will get to in a bit, she was constantly afraid. Why we get afraid is because my mind wants to protect me, right? So, to protect me, my mind needs to create patterns, and these patterns are usually created based on our past experiences. I will tell you why past experiences and taking reference from that isn't helpful at the end of the video because it will make more sense there. But why our mind creates patterns is to protect us. So, if her mind is creating this pattern, it is doing so because she has been into these relationships. So, her mind assumes that all relationships will have a tendency of making her feel hurt, or in all relationships, men will treat her this way. Or now that she had gotten out of it, she had started working on herself, right? Her mind had connected that whenever you become a girlfriend or you become a fiance or someone in that regard, you become someone who doesn't respect herself. So this was the pattern that her mind had created. It did not feel safe being in any romantic relationships at all, right? Because of which she was constantly scared that my relationships wouldn't work out. She had a guy that came into her life. This was her specific person, and she had started talking to him. But after starting the conversations, after a few days, she realized that this person started pulling away. Now, was this person fully pulling away? The answer is divided into two parts. So, what happens is, yes, to a degree, this person was pulling away, which is normal. So, when you start talking to someone and when you start to get connected with them, a little bit of back and forth is pretty normal, right? How you navigate through that is what matters. In that moment, when this happened, the first thing that she did was her codependency issues came out. She started getting codependent on this person. She started constantly texting him, constantly reaching out to him, whereas pushing the relationship away, because what she was doing is she was getting into the energy of desperation. And number two thing that happens is there were many situations when this guy wasn't actually pulling away, but because in her mind she had already assumed that he is. Even when he wasn't, she was texting him and asking him constantly, is everything okay? Are you doing everything fine? Are you like mad at me? Are you not talking to me? Do you still like me? And all these things were happening. The guy eventually ended up pulling away, and he mentioned to her that he doesn't actually have any feelings for her. This is what happened. So, as the situation was at this level, this is when we started working together. So, the first thing that we did when we started working together is that we understood a little bit about her patterns. Her patterns were two, three, as I mentioned. She was very codependent in relationships, she had no boundaries. And one more thing, which was very big in her life, she was addicted to feeling bad. She was constantly addicted to feeling bad about herself. She was constantly finding problems. Why? Because this sense of constantly feeling bad about herself made her feel important. Because every time she would, get these issues, she would go and tell her friends and they will give her sympathy. And she used to feel that, I am important because look, my friends are caring about me. And when are they caring about me? When I'm feeling bad, right? So this became a part of her identity. As we started working on her, the core theme that we worked on was self concept. We started working on feeling good enough, feeling deserving of relationships, feeling worthy of love, right? These were the first focuses that we had. As we started working on this, a lot of resistance came, which is completely normal. One mistake people make is that they start getting into their manifestation journey and they start to face some resistance. And we start to assume that resistance coming up means that we are doing something wrong. But resistance is a normal part and parcel of the process and something that no one can take away. In fact, resistance coming up is actually a good thing. It means that I have gotten to a place where this resistance is showing up so that I can clear it. Think about it. Let's say you start traveling from one place to the other, right? And in the middle, a toll comes, right? The toll where they charge you to leave the city. That toll coming up is actually not a hindrance. It's a good thing. It means that you're getting closer to the destination. Now, you can either sit there, park your car, and cry about why the toll is there, or you can learn how to deal with it and eventually pass it and reach the next toll so that you can reach the next one and eventually reach your destination, right? So, resistance is actually a gift. After you learn how to handle it, you become very great at manifestation in general. So, she started developing a better relationship with resistance, and the first starting theme was us working on herself. Now, as she started getting better with her self concept in general, we started focusing on her beliefs in relationships. Now, because there were many beliefs that we eventually came across, I used to send her some tasks that she used to do, and she used to constantly respond back to me. One thing I loved about her was that she was communicative with me. So every time I used to send her things, she used to tell me what she thought about it, and then we used to course correct, right? One big thing that I would advise to all clients, not just my clients, but for any therapists, any coaches, anyone, communicate with your coach. Your coach cannot read your mind, right? So if you're coming to a coach, they can understand your issues to the level that you tell them, right? And whenever you are getting issues, the more you communicate with them, the more they would be able to communicate back with you. So they would be able to tell you that, okay, if you're facing this problem, this is what the solution is. Your coach or anyone else cannot assume that you are under an issue, right? So it's your that the part of you in this relationship is to tell them that, this is what I'm facing an issue with. And then the part of the coach is to tell you a solution. And then your part of applying the solution comes in, right? So this is what she did. She was very, very communicative with me, which is something that I absolutely love, right? So we were able to course correct and we found many beliefs. But one thing that we understood was, as I talked about codependency, is that she thought that chasing people or doing things for people in itself means love. And that is good. You should be kind to others. You should be giving in relationships, but not when the giving is coming at your own expense. Then it's not actually giving, then it's self sacrifice, right? So we worked on that. Then we worked on her identifications of arguments. So she was someone who used to shut down every time she used to get into arguments. That is something that we worked on, because disagreements and arguments in relationships are very normal. You will not see even one relationship which is a long term relationship where there are not small disagreements and fights. That's a very normal part and parcel of the relationship. Me, I also have disagreements and arguments with my partner. The key is to handle these arguments respectfully. The key is to handle these arguments from a holistic point of view and not to disrespect each other while you're doing it, right? I also taught her some behaviors that when another person does is not cool. So every time they used to have an argument or she used to bring up her concerns, her ex partner used to say that I will leave you. If you tell me what your concerns are, I will leave you. I taught her some things that, this is not respectful behavior, because in her mind, she thought it was, right? So a lot of times when we are settling, it's not because we want to settle. It's just that we feel that it's normal because that's what we have experienced till now, right? So as we started working on these things and as we started working on herself, eventually this guy started reaching out again. He started reaching out on his own. She wasn't the one who was reaching out. He started reaching out on his own and he started asking her out, right? And as he started asking her out in her situation, the advice that I gave to her was to go out on a date. Why? Because she was not settling here, because they had never turned into that full relationship status first, right? So it's different dynamics, different people. It's a general, as a general advice, I wouldn't be able to advise on this because it depends on a specific situation. But in her situation, the advice was to go and to date. She started dating this person, and eventually the guy proposed to her, and they got into a relationship. Now, this is where some more issues started coming up. As she got into a relationship, she started to see that, her attraction towards this person wasn't in the same level that she thought it would be. Why does that happen? The reason why her attraction wasn't what she thought it should be is because she was comparing it to the past. Now, as at the start of the video, I said that I will be bringing some things here which I will be talking about. So a lot of times we are referencing from our past, which is good, right? Sometimes we should refer from the past, but not all the times. She had a very toxic dynamic with her past partners, and what she was truly attracted to, the energy that she felt was high, was the anxiety that this relationship brought. So now that she was getting into a calm relationship, the anxiety felt more intense and the calmness feels more calm. Because of which she thought that because the anxiety was constantly high and I constantly felt that something was wrong, that is what love is, right? But the more she got involved with this person, she realized that love is not going to be constantly anxious. Yes, there is adventure involved in love, but not constant drama. Eventually, love is calm, love is peaceful, love is code like independent of the other person, right? And that's when she started to realize that this is what true love is. The reason that she was getting into an issue is because she was constantly comparing it to the past, right? Comparing it to the past doesn't work, because every time you're comparing to the past, you're somewhere teaching yourself that I'm still the same person. That is why I'm expecting similar outcomes, right? And every time I'm comparing it to the past, I'm holding this past as this anchor, which has become a part of my identity. The reason it doesn't solve any problems is because it can give you this false sense of identity, but that's not who you want to be anymore, because the life that version of you had is not something you want right now. This doesn't mean the past version of you wasn't important, because if that version of you doesn't exist, this version of you doesn't exist, right? And this version of you is great, amazing, loved, and loving. The thing is, instead of using your past issues as a badge of honor, and I have been someone who has done this in the past, I used to constantly tell myself, oh, these bad things have happened to me, this pain has came to me, so I deserve to feel constantly wrong, right? And in under the pretense of honoring my feelings, a lot of times what I was doing was I was constantly dwelling in them. I will give you an example, which this client's example. After every few days, she used to get into this spiral where she just used to pick up a fight with this guy. Why did she used to do that? Because she was constantly habitual of feeling some negative feeling in a relationship, right? Now, she basically was of the mindset that, oh, I have had a habit of feeling this way in the past. That's why I do it, right? And I want to honor this feeling because when I feel that negative feeling, I somewhere want to honor it. I don't want to be disrespectful towards myself. While saying that, every time she was honoring that feeling, she was creating negative fights in her current relationship, which was making the relationship not work out. So she, under the influence and under the pretense of honoring her feelings, was actually constantly disrespecting herself and was actually making sure that her future looks very similar to the past where she does not have what she wants. So working on that was actually very, very essential. We also worked on differentiating between boundaries and insecurities. Now, this is a topic a lot of people ask me a lot about, and if you would love a video on this, please comment down below that boundaries and insecurities. I will make a different video on this topic because it's not something which can be explained in a short way. But all in all, as this person is now in this situation, I will summarize this for you. We got involved in this situation. We worked on her codependency issues. We worked on her past trauma. We worked on her people pleasing behavior. We worked on her addictions to feel bad. We worked on letting go of her connections with the past. We worked on her self concept issues. We worked on understanding that anxiety and drama is not love. And as we worked on this, we worked on differentiating between boundaries and insecurities. And now she's in a full-fledged loving relationship with this guy. I'm pretty sure they are going to get married in the next year. So stay tuned for that story because when I will post that story, I will refer to this one. And yeah, this is what her success story was. I hope you enjoyed this. I made a long video today because I wanted to talk about a lot of things. And I hope that you learned something from this. I hope that you also learned that holding on to your past and self-victimization is not cool. It is not honoring your feelings. It's just disrespecting yourself and making sure that you don't get what you want later. So, you are next. I'm pretty sure you are going to be the next success story and you're going to work on this. And I wish you all the best and I hope you have a good day.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe and share if you liked the video. The link for my one-on-one coaching, my self-help courses, and my free newsletter are in the description box below.